The war in Ukraine has entered a phase defined less by territorial maneuver and more by strategic endurance. Russia's sustained campaign of missile and drone strikes targeting Ukraine's energy grid and urban infrastructure reflects a deliberate shift toward attritional pressure. Rather than seeking rapid battlefield breakthroughs, Moscow is testing Kyiv's resilience, economically, militarily, and psychologically, especially during critical winter periods. In response, Ukraine's leadership has intensified calls for advanced air defense systems, particularly the US-made Patriot missile system. President Volodymyr Zelensky's appeal through NATO's Prioritized Ukraine Requirements List, or PEARL, is not merely a request for hardware. It represents an attempt to institutionalize and accelerate Allied military procurement mechanisms. The focus is clear: survival through air superiority denial. NATO's engagement through structured funding channels signals a transition from ad hoc military aid to coordinated strategic sustainment. The Patriot system, designed to intercept ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and advanced aerial threats, stands at the center of this evolving defense architecture. Its deployment carries symbolic and operational weight. This moment matters beyond Ukraine. It reflects how modern conflicts increasingly hinge on air defense networks and alliance cohesion. The battlefield is no longer defined solely by tanks and trenches, but by interception capability, logistics, and political will. Ukraine's request for additional Patriot systems is rooted in a clear operational reality: air defense saturation. Russia has refined its strike strategy by combining ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and large waves of drones in coordinated attacks designed to overwhelm Ukrainian interception capacity. This layered assault model forces Kyiv to expend expensive interceptor missiles at a rate that raises long-term sustainability concerns. The Patriot system occupies a unique niche in this equation. Unlike short-range air defense platforms, it is specifically engineered to counter high-speed ballistic threats and complex aerial trajectories. Its radar integration and engagement envelope provide a critical defensive umbrella over major cities and energy infrastructure. In strategic terms, Patriots don't win wars, but they prevent strategic collapse. For NATO, supplying additional Patriot batteries involves more than logistics. These systems are limited in number, expensive to operate, and central to the national defense doctrines of several alliance members. Every deployment decision therefore reflects a calculation about risk distribution within the alliance. Supporting Ukraine strengthens collective deterrence, but it also requires burden-sharing consensus. The deeper logic here is about preserving escalation control. By reinforcing Ukraine's defensive shield rather than expanding offensive capabilities, NATO frames its support as stabilizing rather than provocative. This distinction is central to maintaining alliance unity while avoiding direct confrontation with Russia. Behind the public declarations of support lies a more complex internal negotiation within NATO. The Prioritized Ukraine Requirements List, or PEARL mechanism, represents an effort to streamline procurement and distribute financial responsibility among allies. It is designed to prevent fragmentation by institutionalizing support rather than relying solely on bilateral initiatives. However, Patriot systems are strategic assets embedded within national defense structures. Countries operating them must weigh domestic security requirements against external commitments. Eastern flank members view robust Ukrainian air defense as a forward buffer against Russian expansionism. Others, particularly those geographically distant from the conflict, approach transfers with greater caution, balancing deterrence with resource constraints. This dynamic reveals a broader strategic tension: sustaining long-term support without eroding alliance readiness. NATO must demonstrate resolve while ensuring that its own deterrence posture remains credible. The transfer of high-end systems like Patriot, therefore, becomes both a military and political signal, one that communicates unity but also exposes internal trade-offs. What makes this moment significant is that it tests the institutional maturity of NATO. The alliance is no longer responding to a short-term crisis. It is adapting to a prolonged confrontation environment. How effectively NATO manages procurement coordination, burden sharing, and strategic messaging will shape not only the Ukraine conflict, but the alliance's credibility in future theaters. The introduction of additional Patriot systems into Ukraine's air defense network alters the military balance in a subtle but meaningful way. While these systems do not shift frontline dynamics, they complicate Russia's strategic strike calculus. Each intercepted missile represents not only a tactical denial, but also a cost imposition effect on Moscow's long-range strike campaign. Russia's response is likely to focus on adaptation rather than retreat. This may include increasing salvo sizes, diversifying attack vectors, or prioritizing less protected targets. In this sense, the air defense contest becomes a battle of endurance and economics. High-end interceptors versus relatively cheaper offensive systems create an asymmetric cost dynamic that both sides must manage. From an escalation perspective, NATO's emphasis on defensive systems serves as a stabilizing narrative. It reinforces the framing that alliance involvement is aimed at protecting civilian infrastructure rather than enabling offensive breakthroughs. This distinction matters for escalation control, particularly in managing red lines and strategic signaling. Yet escalation risks do not disappear. As air defense improves, Russia may seek alternative pressure points: cyber operations, maritime disruption, or energy coercion, expanding the conflict's multi-domain character. The Patriot deployment, therefore, represents not an endpoint, but an inflection point in a wider strategic contest. Beyond the battlefield, the Patriot debate exposes a structural reality. Modern war is constrained by industrial capacity. Advanced air defense systems require complex supply chains, high-end components, and sustained production cycles. Expanding deliveries to Ukraine therefore intersects directly with the defense manufacturing tempo of the United States and its allies. The war has already triggered a gradual reactivation of Western defense industries. Production lines for interceptors, radar components, and missile systems are being scaled, but not without delay. This creates a strategic time lag between political decisions and operational deployment. In prolonged conflicts, industrial throughput becomes as decisive as battlefield maneuver. For NATO, the PURL mechanism serves not only as a funding tool, but as an industrial coordination instrument. By aggregating demand signals and pooling financial commitments, the alliance can incentivize manufacturers to expand output with greater predictability. This institutionalization reduces uncertainty and signals long-term commitment. What makes this dimension critical is its broader implication for global security architecture. The Ukraine war is accelerating a shift toward defense industrial rearmament in Europe and North America. The sustainability of air defense support will ultimately depend not just on political will, but on the resilience and scalability of the Western defense industrial base. NATO's decision to reinforce Ukraine's air defense architecture is more than a tactical response to Russian strikes. It reflects an emerging doctrine of sustained deterrence through defensive depth. Rather than pursuing rapid escalation or direct intervention, the alliance is shaping the conflict by strengthening Ukraine's ability to endure. This approach carries implications for future conflicts. air defense networks are becoming central pillars of national resilience strategies worldwide. From the Indo-Pacific to the Middle East, states are observing how layered missile defense systems influence escalation management and civilian protection. The Ukraine theater has become a live case study in modern defensive warfare. At a geopolitical level, the Patriot commitment signals that Western support is evolving from emergency assistance to structured, long-term security alignment. The institutionalization of procurement mechanisms like PURL indicates that the conflict is being integrated into broader alliance planning frameworks. This reduces ambiguity about commitment duration, but increases strategic competition intensity. Ultimately, this moment matters because it reshapes the logic of power projection. In modern warfare, survival capacity can be as strategically decisive as offensive capability. By reinforcing Ukraine's air shield, NATO is not simply protecting infrastructure, it is redefining how alliances manage prolonged, high-intensity conflicts in a multipolar world.